We're the Living with Pain and Chronic Fatigue Syndrome team. My name's Steve and I'm a physiotherapist.
Hello, my name's Donaldina and I'm one of the occupational therapists.
Hi, my name's Addie and I'm one of the psychologists in the team. We've put together this video for you today to explain a little more about our service and how we work, to talk about the impact of living with long-term pain and ME or CFS, and to give you information that can help you to decide whether you think that this will be a helpful approach for you now.
So who is in our team? We're a multidisciplinary team made up of several different professionals. We have physiotherapists, occupational therapists, clinical psychologists and our admin staff. And our non-clinical administrative staff are responsible for booking appointments and general organising and admin within the service. The other professions we'll go on and talk about in detail further on in the presentation. But it's important to note that we don't have a medical doctor within the team, so we might discuss the role of medication as part of an overall management plan, but please be aware that we do not diagnose and your prescriptions must come from your GP and your consultant.
The role of physiotherapy is to support you to develop a better understanding of persistent symptoms, whether that is chronic pain or chronic fatigue. It's to help explore medication use in the context of your chronic condition. It's to support you with gentle, appropriate exercise or movement and help you understand how movement can impact on your thoughts and feelings. It is to gently build strength, flexibility and confidence within your body in the presence of your chronic pain or your chronic fatigue.
The role of occupational therapy. People with chronic pain and/or fatigue can often have difficulties carrying out their day-to-day activities, and this might include things like work, home life, leisure and hobbies. An occupational therapist will work with you to identify the impact of your symptoms on those activities that mean the most to you, and will explore self-management strategies to enable you to achieve an optimal level of functioning. So what might those self-management strategies look like? We help people develop a better understanding of how their symptoms and activities interrelate. So are you having peaks and troughs of activity, and how much activity is causing a flare of symptoms, and which activities may be helpful with your pain and fatigue symptoms? And we use things like activity management and pacing to help people plan their daily activities so that they can prioritise those important occupations and try and avoid triggering a flare of symptoms and make their day-to-day activities and their day-to-day symptoms more manageable and more predictable. So overall, we're looking at adjusting your daily activities to help you manage your chronic symptoms. We do look at sleep, but like our other self-management strategies, there are no quick fixes, and we look for positive steps in the right direction, with an understanding that we are helping people live with their symptoms rather than getting rid of their pain and fatigue. To help people with sleep issues, we might look at their sleep routines and their sleep hygiene, and look at pragmatic steps that people can take to improve their quality of sleep as much as possible.
People can sometimes be curious as to why psychologists are often part of specialist pain and fatigue teams, so I wanted to explain a little more about why this is. Having any illness, but particularly a long-term physical health condition, places extra demands on people. It can result in huge changes in lifestyle, including what we can do, our work, how we think of ourselves and our relationship with others. It also impacts on our mobility and fitness, our sleep, which then add to these difficulties. And managing all of this can be highly stressful and have a big impact on emotions. It's also important to recognise the impact that pain and fatigue can have on our thinking patterns. As discussed already, pain is a powerful biological mechanism that's there to protect us. It's designed to grab our attention and make it difficult to focus on anything else. Now, this is very helpful with short-term pain following illness or injury, but with long-term pain, the protective function of this loses its value. Similarly, fatigue can have a huge effect on our thoughts and our thinking patterns. Cognitive dysfunction, often called brain fog, is an extremely common symptom of CFS-ME as well as many pain conditions. And this can make it hard to stay focused on what you're doing, or make it very difficult when you're having to focus on multiple things at once. It can mean it's really tricky to follow conversations or to find the right words while you're talking, and can also affect your memory and concentration. Over time, this effect on your thinking can also start to affect the type of thoughts that you have. For example, you may start to feel anxious about how brain fog will affect your communication or activity, or have negative thoughts about yourself because of the impact of your symptoms, which then affects mood, confidence, and self-esteem. Rather unsurprisingly, navigating all of this can be very difficult and very distressing. It's normal for people to experience a lot of anger and frustration about their situation, which can sometimes be internalised and result in feelings of anger towards themselves. It's also very common for people to struggle with feelings of sadness and grief about some of the losses they've experienced because of their symptoms, or feel guilty or ashamed for the changes that them and their family have had to navigate. Anxiety is also extremely common, and this can be about a whole range of things, but is often focused around why they're experiencing persistent symptoms at all and how their pain and fatigue may progress in future, or about what other people may be thinking about them because of their symptoms. These are all natural emotional reactions to very difficult situations, and sometimes these emotions can become overwhelming, which can cause additional pressure and increase the impact of physical symptoms. We also know that aside from the impact of long-term pain and fatigue, life can be complicated and people can have additional problems or stresses that they are also having to manage. These may be connected to their symptoms or totally unrelated, but all add together to make life more difficult to deal with. We know from scientific research and our experience of working with people that how we think about and make sense of long-term pain and fatigue signals, that our mood and mental health, and that our environment can all affect our overall symptom experience. They can increase the volume of pain and fatigue and the influence that they have over our actions and behaviours. It's important to highlight that the opposite is also true. When we're in tune with the signals from our body and what they mean, when we're able to do more of what matters to us personally, and when we feel safe, supported, and connected to others and the world around us, persistent symptoms of pain and fatigue feel easier to manage. So, what does this mean for how psychology can help as part of an overall management plan? Our role as clinical psychologists is to help you make sense of how your condition is affecting you emotionally and recognise any additional pressures that might be adding to your distress. It's also to support you to learn ways to cope with the difficult thoughts and feelings that you may be struggling with as a result of your pain and fatigue. It's important to say here that people sometimes worry that seeing a clinical psychologist means that we think that pain and fatigue is all in your head, or that emotional problems are the cause for your symptoms. This is not the case. It simply means that we recognise that it is very difficult to live with long-term symptoms, and that people's experience of their pain and fatigue is affected by multiple factors. As such, a good management plan should also address these multiple areas, which may include psychological support. What psychological support looks like is very different from one person to the next, and that's because it's based on their particular difficulties and their particular situation. We may see someone for just one session or agree to meet for a number of sessions, although we don't typically see people for long periods of therapy in our service. And like the rest of the team, we're not involved in everyone's care. There is no pressure to speak to a psychologist if you'd prefer not to. Therapy can be hugely beneficial, but we understand that it's not necessarily for everyone. Now we've explained a little about our team and how we work, we wanted to share with you some of the feedback we've received from the people that we've worked with in the past about their experiences of working with our service.
Next steps. If you think our service could be helpful for you now, we will send you a questionnaire to complete and return to us. This helps us to make sure that you meet with the right members of the team during your initial assessment appointment. You'll be invited to an assessment session when an appointment is available, but due to high demand for our service, this is likely to be a long wait. During your assessment, we will talk through how your condition is affecting you from a physical, psychological, and social perspective. Then we will agree together which members of the team are best placed to support you. You may not see every member of the team. Once we have finished our work together, we will discharge you from our service and everyone should leave with a plan for how to keep the changes going that you have made with us. Please get in touch and tell us if things have changed that would impact on your work with us. So significant issues in your personal life that would mean that you weren't able to engage with our work with you, or if you're accessing further investigations or treatments for your long-term condition, such as orthopedic surgery, or if you are involved in another pain management service or another chronic fatigue syndrome service, please do, again, get in touch with us.
Thank you for listening to us today. We hope that this has given you an insight into our service and how we work.
So what are the next steps for you now? After your referral has been accepted by the service, you'll be added to our waiting list for an initial assessment appointment. And due to a high demand for our service, there is a wait for this appointment.
When you're nearing the top of the waiting list, we'll send you a questionnaire to complete and return to us. The information in this helps us to make sure that you meet with the right mix of the team members during your initial assessment appointment.
So when you are at the top of the waiting list, we'll be in touch to arrange that assessment session when an appointment's available. And these appointments will either be by video or face-to-face.
So there are now no further steps for you to take, but if you do have any questions about the service, please get in